issue of regulating comments on social media is not affecting discourse in Nigeria only. About last year in the United States of America, there was an issue between Microsoft and the government when the government requested for the data of an individual. Meanwhile, the conversation on definition of hate speech and the involvement of the army is still on in Nigeria. Some Nigerians actually prefer to discuss the cause of the seeming increase in hate speeches. I saw the views of information communication consultant Mr. YELE OKEREMI, who believes that the political elites have contributed to this unpleasant trend.
Issues of poverty exist. Issues of tribalism also exist, but these have been there for many years. But the real reasons why today it is great is that we can look at it historically, and you will see where I'm going. So without taking away from what you've said, those issues are there. But the problem is the people who are the leaders. I'm trying to use, I don't want to use the buzzword, but the political elite, they know that as long as it's about the democracy, they need people to vote for them. And so they find means of getting people to vote for them. And unfortunately, because the level of education in Nigeria is still very low, so people believe pretty much anything. So they tell them things like it is these persons that are not allowing you to do this. And so so those issues remain there. But if Nigerians could understand what it actually means to be in positions of leadership and in positions of service, then I think it will be no problem. So hate speeches come, nepotism, as it were. Like I said, you keep reading, they say when the Northerners are in government, they say that they're disenfranchising the Southerners, they're disenfranchising the Westerners, they're disenfranchising the Easterners. So they talk about nepotism, as it were. And then after a while, people begin to get agitated, and then the political leaders help them and fan these embers. But the problem has always been one and the same thing, and that is that people who are there control the resources. Nobody thinks about creating resources. All people do is about sharing, and then they decide, oh, this is a nice guy, we're going to give him that. This is a bad guy, is against us, we're not going to give him that. And this is the real reason why this is going to continue. And look, no matter what legislation comes into place, this is going to continue until we have seriousness. And the seriousness has to come when we have leadership who are taking the position sacrificially. So I would say that the need of Nigeria today is to solve our feeding problems, is to solve our shelter problems, is to solve our clothing problems. And much more importantly, the human capital index. When you improve the human capital index, what I mean by human capital index is the Nigerian. You invest in the Nigerian, he's got good food, he has a shelter, he has a home, and then he has food, and then you begin to worry about his intellect. You begin to worry about his thoughts. Because the things that we see, it's written in the Bible, the things that we see are temporal, but the things we do not see are eternal. The things that we see, house, cars, and all this, they are all in the minds of human beings. And that's the biggest asset anywhere in the world, the human mind. And until Nigeria comes to that reality that we need to develop the human capital index, we are not starting anything. So all these issues about these things, to my mind, they are probably misplaced priorities.
Government will not sit down and watch as things deteriorate, because it's government responsibility, in accordance with the Constitution, to ensure the protection of lives and property. Chapter 2 of the Constitution is very, very clear as to what the purpose of government is. Security and welfare of the people. And nobody should sit down under the guise of exercising his rights of freedom of speech and also use it to abuse the rights of others. Freedom of speech does not mean freedom to incite, does not mean freedom to denigrate. It doesn't mean freedom to hate. Freedom of speech means your freedom to voice out your opinion. And your opinion should not trample on the rights of others. So we are making it categorically clear today that anybody who makes speech or threaten others in any form will be dealt with in accordance with the law.
And especially in the purview of
the media has also been very concerned about the ongoing conversation.
As a regulatory institution, the NBC cannot allow anarchy in Nigeria's broadcast sector. The Nigeria Broadcasting Code, in the General Principles 0.2.1, stated emphatically that broadcasting shall influence society positively, setting the agenda for the social, cultural, economic, political, and technological development of the nation for the public good. And in 0.2.2.4, under political objectives, the code obliges the broadcaster to contribute to the development of national unity and participatory democracy. And that should be to inculcate in the people the spirit of tolerance of all shades of opinion. In recent times, the political atmosphere in Kaduna has become very much heated as different political tendencies, groups, and individuals maneuver for hegemonic control. We have also seen a spike in the manner that broadcasting is being pressed into service by the different individuals and tendencies. Every week, the Zonal Directorate of the National Broadcasting Commission here in Kaduna files a report about broadcasting activities. Incidentally, this is done by all our 10 zonal directorates from all over Nigeria. But I want to point out that there is a consistent pattern of reportage of the political nature of most of the breaches recorded from the Kaduna zone. The reports are full of inciting remarks, inciting statement and ridicule of other religions, unfair statement, unfair remarks, broadcast of divisive statement and unbalanced remarks, unfair and unsubstantiated allegations, unfair, defamatory and indecent statement.
I think this is something that professional media can learn more about as well, because often journalists across the country are encountering interviewees who are talking about hate speech, and even opinion columnists are sometimes using hate speech. And that's obviously very dangerous, especially when it's coming through the mainstream media. And first, there need to be effective laws in place to govern hate speech. And secondly, there has to be the proper enforcement. And so that often is lacking. For example, in South Sudan, that there aren't effective ways to regulate hate speech. So that needs to be in place. But I think the most effective way to address, especially hate speech on social media, is for social media users to address it, either by reporting the instances to the technology companies, or by taking steps themselves. For example, shaming those in large groups of people, by shaming those people who are actually perpetrating hate speech.
Could the way forward be economical, social, or just monitoring the social media? The conversation continues on regulating or monitoring Nigerians' activities on the social media when it comes to dealing with hate speech and national security. Tell us what you think about this via our social media platforms. Thank you so much for watching. I'm Amy JOHN-MEKWA.